You found the Live Local Marketing Podcast, where business owners share their knowledge about what's working in the market today. No fluff, just their experiences and stories from people who are making it happen. And if authentic, practical marketing resonates with you, be sure to visit livelocalwarmmarketing.com and learn to grow your business on warm marketing referrals. Now, on to the show. Welcome. Thanks for joining us here at the Live Local Warm Marketing Podcast. And today, we're with Mike. Mike, sir, how are we feeling today?
I'm great, Billy. How are you?
Doing great. This is the legendary Mike. You were actually the first person that has been on my show that's also been on your show. You're the first one. I haven't had any guest swaps yet. So this is the first.
Yeah, well, now you have. Welcome to the team. It was great. It was great to have you on my show. You were a wealth of knowledge. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm thrilled to be on your show.
It's my turn to grill you. So yeah.
Although I did not limit your answers to 120 seconds, Billy. So
it's true.
I do feel I'm on, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or something. So
yeah, at the end, we'll see if you can get the $1 million. We will see.
Yeah, there you go. I'll just call you Reed Philman. There we go.
That's right. All right, so we'll do a little bio about you and then get right to the questions. So Mike Konrad is the founder and CEO of Aqueous Technologies. Aqueous. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. A company he launched in 1992, became a leader in post-reflow cleaning and reliability solutions for the electronics industry. He also host of 2 successful podcasts, Reliability Matters, focused on electronics reliability, and The Reluctant Entrepreneur, which is my personal favorite, and I listen to all the time, where he explores the real journeys of business owners. All right, so are we ready for the question, sir?
I believe I'm ready.
Talk to us about a time that you had a loss that turned out to be a win.
We used to be very aggressive when we first started the company 34 years ago. We were very, very aggressive at getting sales. I left my competitor and started my company, and he got a little upset about that and sued me, and we won. But the first goal I had when I won the lawsuit was get revenge, right? That was motivated by revenge and ego. And that meant I would get an order at any price. It didn't matter whether I made money or lost money. When I got an order, I figured it was 3 wins. When I got the order, when they didn't get the order, which was a win for me that they lost the order, right? It was amazing. So we were losing money on all those ego-driven, revenge-driven sales. And that led us to the brink of insolvency. And eventually we decided we can't survive that. I've got enough revenge. Let's put that behind me. And it forced me to change our structure and our values and start pricing our stuff on value, not on motivation to close an order. And that led to one of the first steps to a huge turnaround in our financial situation. It turns out ego is expensive. My ego buddy is hungry. He needs to be fed a lot of calories in the form of dollars. And it was time to put my little buddy in the dungeon. And that ended up being a huge win for us. But it took that loss to get that perspective to obtain. I'm slowing down so I can stop right on time. So to obtain the win. Look at that.
Yeah, good timing, but you don't have to. You're ready to go. But that's a great story. Actually, I love that. I first of the ego stories I have actually heard from that question. So that is very enlightening, and I appreciate that way we started off here today. So let's shift to the podcast. We'll do podcast questions mainly. So of the podcasts that you run, what is some of the favorite strategies you're using to reach audience and to be effective in your podcasting? A quick break before we get to that next answer, because I know that answer is going to be brilliant, which is why I chose this moment to interrupt. If you love what you're seeing and you want to run your business off of warm marketing referrals, visit our website, livelocalwarmmarketing.com. It's got valuable resources, office hours, memberships, the book, an array of resources to help you get rid of cold calls, cold leads, door knocking, and run a business you can be proud of through referrals and warm marketing. Now, back to the show.
My podcast, like yours, is very conversational. And my goal is to particularly on my technical podcast, my reliability podcast, Reliability Matters. My goal is to bring out the human side of all my guests, and my guests are all like PhDs and scientists and things like that. I remember I had on the show the original inventor of the digital camera. Um,
Oh,
uh,
really?
Technically, the CMOS image
I
sensor,
missed that one.
to go down a rabbit
Yeah.
hole. Um, yeah, he's quite famous in inventor circles, and like most PhDs, sometimes the answers are very kind of, if you remember Dragnet, Joe Friday, just the facts, man. Not a
Yeah,
lot of
that's right.
personality.
Yeah.
And halfway through the interview, I stopped and I said his name, and I said, "Do you ever wake up some random Sunday morning, just put your hands behind your head and go, 'Damn, I invented that. That was me.'" And he just broke out in a smile. And then he told me, he goes, "I haven't told anyone this story before, but my wife and I were in Paris and we saw some girls, trying to take a selfie. So my wife offered to take the picture for them, and I got behind them and photobombed them. And they looked at the picture and they're like, 'Dude, what's that about?' And I said, I handed him my card and he said, 'Look me up.' And 2 weeks later, he got an email like, 'OMG, you're the inventor of the camera phone,' as they called it." But the point in all that was, my guests have two deliverables. One is their expertise, which is great. That's what it's all about. But the other is there's a human behind there. Whether I'm interviewing
Yeah.
entrepreneurs or scientists, there's a human behind there that's driving their passion for whatever their expertise is.
And in your space, that is sometimes tough to drag out. So what kind of questions and what kind of things do you do to drag it out? Because you're in a very technical space and there's a lot of jargon and so forth. Are there certain things you do, or do you just try to come up with like a jarring question? Or how do you
Yeah,
do it?
usually it comes naturally. If it's stale, if I'm just really uh, if it's just 100% Q&A, then
Yeah.
I'll just wing it. I do a lot of research on my guests. That's one
Yeah.
of the commitments I make to my audience is, for a 1 hour show, I'm probably in at 3 or 4 hours before I ever interview someone. Now, it's a little easier
Wow.
today with AI because AI can do
Yeah.
research faster than I can do research on Google. AI looks at 100 Google articles about someone and summarizes it, where I would have to look at 100 and summarize it. So,
Yeah.
but I do a lot of research, um, and most of it on my reliability show, most of the guests are people I know. I've been in the industry for 41 years, so I know all these people. On my Reluctant Entrepreneur show, it's a lot easier to get great personality out of somebody because entrepreneurs are
Got it.
pretty much on a spectrum somewhere. I think if the
It's
um,
true.
what is it, the psychological manual, the DSM, that has
Yeah.
all the ailments for psychology and psychiatry. I think entrepreneurs are in there somewhere, or they will be soon, because we are definitely a strange breed, and it's very easy to get people to talk about their personality, and it shines through. So
Gotcha.
long answer. I blew my
No,
120
good.
seconds, but long
We're
answer
good.
is get the personality out. There's humans in there somewhere.
Just make sure you get the questions that stand out that people want to know about, not just the technical questions.
Not just the technical. Why the technical? What drove you to that? Why do you have this conclusion? Why are you in
Yes.
this
There you
industry?
go. Got it. Those are good. Those are good. All right. So with the podcast now, to make it efficient and do as many as you're doing, what stuff do you still do hands-on, and what stuff are you passing off to a team to help you make with a more efficiency?
I started my first podcast 6 years ago in the electronic space. And I call it my big podcast and my little podcast. The big podcast was Reliability Matters. It's established. It's got a really good audience. I started the Reluctant Entrepreneur podcast as a pure passion project, and
That's good.
I think the the question again, put me back on track, Billy.
What stuff do you do, and what stuff do you hand off?
Oh, yeah. I do everything myself.
Everything.
I'm semi-retired, so I
Gotcha.
book the guests, I write the scripts, I edit the show,
Really?
video/audio editing. Um, I do all the postings. I do all of it. I'm a one-man band as far as that's concerned. I got time, and my wife loves it because I'm up in the studio all the time, or outside in my little outside perch editing all the stuff. But I enjoy doing it. I'm a creative person. I'm
Got it.
weird. I'm kind of left brain and right brain, so I've got
Mhm.
a very analytical trait to me, and I'm very creative. So that makes me like a creative nerd, which is a
Yeah.
strange dichotomy. But I
It is.
enjoy not thoroughly enjoy the conversations I have with my guests. I get smarter as
Yeah.
a result of it, and
Amen.
and I thoroughly enjoy the creativity side of it. The creating the lower thirds and the the format and the scenes and the overlays and all that. I mean, that's super nerdy, but I really enjoy doing that. And so, yeah, I mean, at some point, I may get like a VA or something and help me. But
Yeah.
at this point,
For
I'm
now.
enjoying doing it. It's filling my time. It's keeping me out of the way of my wife. Which
It's
which
good.
makes her very happy. I'm not. When you retire and all of a sudden you're home all day, things can
It
get a little
changes.
tense, right? It
It's
changes
just
the
strange.
dynamic, and this keeps me
If you
busy.
were
In
to
fact, I'm physically busier now than I was when I was going to the office every day.
That's wild. If you were to have a VA, what part would you hand off? Which part's your least favorite? Like, I would really like a VA to do this part
Guest
because I
management.
like it, but not
Yeah,
guest
guest
management. Okay,
management. Right now, I've got it all through automated workflows through Calendly.
got it.
So, like
Yep.
yours, you
You
and I
might mean.
have
Yep.
a very similar setup where
Yep.
automated messages go out. Um,
Yep.
but I would probably have, response to inquiries. I get a lot of inquiries from people. I used to go searching for people. He's like, "You owe me a favor. You need to be on my show." And I'm so blessed. Now a lot of people come to me. I don't really have to search too much, but there's still some guest management. It's cat wrangling, as cat
Yes,
herding, as you probably know.
I
Um,
do.
so that part, maybe, I used to create a whole bunch of shorts and reels and things like that, clips from episodes,
Yeah.
which is really valuable because it drives traffic to the full episode. But I don't have time to do that anymore. That's probably the number one thing I would do. I would
Got
hire some 12-year-old prodigy from some country
it.
that for 18 cents an hour. I'm joking there, but for a reasonable price,
Podcast.
they'll take your videos and turn them into shorts and things like that. I have an AI platform that I use for that, but it's a little dorky. AI
Yeah.
is it the selection it
It's
comes
almost
up
there.
with and the way it cuts the scenes, I have to spend more time fixing it than it's worth it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll probably do that to spin
Okay.
off shorts and reels.
That's good. And so for those of you that are trying to get into podcasts, that seems to be one of the biggest hurdles. That advice is very helpful. Now, here's another one for folks that are trying or thinking about podcasting. You've been doing this for quite a while. How did you come up with the branding ideas, and what were some of the goals behind the podcast that followed that branding?
On Reliability Matters, um, the product that we sell, the machines that we sell for the electronics
Yep.
manufacturing industry don't actually make anything. You don't put something in the machine and something else comes out. What our machines do is performs very specific processes on our customers' circuit boards or the circuit assemblies that are going into stuff, and it makes it more reliable. So our machines add reliability. They're a value-added investment. So when I started the podcast on reliability, it fits the theme of our company, and
Got it.
it aids in building authority in my space, and that and when one builds authority, they can become an authority-based influencer, and that's my whole. I've got a whole weird view on marketing, from what we used to do to what we do now, but on the reliability on the Reluctant Entrepreneur Show, entrepreneurs are a funny bunch. My civilian friends and family, people who aren't entrepreneurs, have about an 81-second attention span for all my business stories, right? They're like,
Sure.
"Oh, want to clear a room? Just start talking about the
Yeah.
business." Put a bunch of entrepreneurs together, and that's all we talk about. I'm interested in your business journey, you're interested in mine, and we compare stories and we one up each other, and it's like going to the VFW, sitting down with World War II vets, listening to them talk about all their foxhole stories for hours. That's how entrepreneurs are. And we tend to be very critical of ourselves and the mistakes we made along the way.
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
very critical. I made some bonehead business mistakes. But then when I talk to other entrepreneurs, I realize, wait a minute, you too? You made the same mistake? You made fear-based decisions? You let your ego get in the way and drive down your profits? You did. I mean, oh my God, I thought it was just me. It turns out learning how to run a business is a curriculum. It's a PhD course, but you never graduate. It's all about the journey. And
That's good.
and when one of the purposes of the show was to allow entrepreneurs to get together and really share that and understand they're not failing. This is normal. It's just a prerequisite to mastery, and to de-romanticize the outside view of entrepreneurship. It is not anywhere near what people think it is. It's hard. It's terrifying, and it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. Besides getting married 44 years ago and having a wonderful daughter. If in case they're listening, I got that in there. But
yeah, those ones go without saying.
Hey,
I
ladies,
think those goes without saying.
Yes, but as hard as it is, it's great. But I don't want people just jumping into like, hey, that sounds good. Let's do it. They have funny stories.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And then they're unprepared. It's really to prepare those that haven't and to commiserate with those who have.
That was a beautiful answer. So I'm going to ask you a question. It's got a boring answer because that one's a great answer. So my boring question now, moving in a different direction, if people are doing the podcast and they know they have hurdles and they know they have things, when I use the phrase useful data, when you saw your podcast growing, what kind of metrics, what kind of things were you following to know that it was being successful, that you were doing well?
I am not a KPI kind of guy, key performance indicator guy. I'm not into all the stereotypical matrix. So I would, on my first show, I thought, I'm gonna start a podcast. I haven't done that medium before. Let's do that. And I've done webinars. I travel around the world. I speak at conferences and universities, and I'm like, I haven't done a webinar. It'd be cool. So I figured I'll commit to 10. And then of course 10 became hundreds, right? But at first I was looking at, at what do we all look at in the podcasting world? Subscribers, right? We're all looking for subs. And that's a tricky thing to look at because not every viewer is a subscriber or not every listener is a subscriber.
True.
And I was just staring at the stats and getting frustrated that like, oh my God, what 8? I've been doing this for 3 months now and I have 8 subscribers. Really? Now my downloads were different. It tracks downloads too, people who actually listen versus subs. But I decided, okay, I got to stop watching this. And I'll tell you why. When I turned 30, I celebrated my 30th birthday by getting my pilot's license. So
cool.
I'm not current anymore, but I used to terrorize the skies. And when every single pilot is learning to fly, every pilot, no exception, their flight instructor drills one thing into them. And that is every time you're in control of that airplane, you have to do 3 things simultaneously. You cannot not do these 3 things. You have to aviate, navigate, and communicate. All 3 things. One of my ghoulish passions is reading NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board, crash reports on civilian aircraft because I spend so much time in the air. I like to terrorize myself, right?
Okay.
And I'd like to find out what's the cause. Is there a common denominator? And in almost every case, it's pilot error, of course, but it's because the flight crew stopped doing at least one of those things. They were so concerned about, they didn't get 3 greens on the landing indicator, the landing gear indicator. There's 3 main gears that come down. All 3 have a green light when they're down and locked. This one crew many years ago only had 2. So they're like, oh, well, maybe the light's out. Maybe the switch is not working. Maybe everything's down and fine, but maybe it's not. We need to know before we land. So they all started working on it, pulling fuses, doing this, doing that, going through checklists, trying to look down. That plane had an area where you can go down in the belly and kind of look through a hole and maybe see it. And they couldn't tell. It was a new moon. It was dark. There was no view. They were over the Everglades. There was no view of the ground, no lights coming up. And they flew the plane into the swamp and everyone perished. Why? Because they stopped aviating, right? They were communicating.
Started navigating.
They certainly weren't navigating, but they were doing a lot of communication, but they stopped doing the essential stuff. And to me, just make great content. Follow your passion, whatever it is. If you want to talk about bass fishing, talk about bass fishing, but be great at it and provide value. The subs, the downloads come when they come. I can't say I don't look at it. I don't look at it often and I don't care. And, one show has really good numbers. My Reluctant Entrepreneur show is kind of a fledgling show. It's just getting started. I think I've recorded 50 or 60 episodes now. But I do it because I love to do it. I do it because I think it provides value. I try and make the best quality podcast I can, like you do. And it is what it is. I'm not a fan of chasing specific goals. I'm a fan of making great decisions, and the goals come. That all the key metrics will be what they be, which sounds careless, but that's my MO.
No, that's good. And you're keeping all three of those avenues in your podcast. You're aviating, right? And you're communicating and you're navigating. You're doing all the things you needed to do.
I think every business has the version of aviate, navigate, communicate, and you have to do all three. Concentrate on one, you'll get one at the expense of two.
Okay, shifting gears again. So we are going to talk about it. And I think I know the answer to this based on our last conversation. What strategy, what thing do you not do anymore? Just doesn't work. ROI is not there. Not a useful strategy.
As I said earlier, we used to be obnoxious advertisers. We're the best. Everyone else sucks. That's pretty much our ad. That sums up most of our ads. We're the best. Everyone sucks. We would enter all these awards. We were award fiends, and it got to be toxic. One year, we had a trade show exhibit, and for like $70,000 or $80,000, I rented this gnarliest waterfall you've ever seen, 30 feet wide, 16 feet tall. And instead of a sheet of water, it had thousands of little jets that would drop water droplets in a sequence that would form words and images as it fell. It was cool. And
it's crazy.
I had all of our equipment staged in front of the waterfall. And just before the show opened the first day, someone came up and said, that's the coolest display I've ever seen. And I'm just like, yeah, good job, Mike. and I'm feeling pretty boastful now. And he says, do you mind can I take a picture of it? Because I just got to show my team. I'm like, yeah, you can do that. And then he noticed all of our equipment was on wheels. And he says, is there any way you could move your equipment out of the way so that I can get a better picture? And Billy, light bulb, more like a 2x4 into the face. It's like that's the business gods went, what the hell are you doing, Mike? Come on. I mean, this is nuts. You don't sell waterfalls. And that's when it hit me. Okay, this is crazy. We're in this rat race and we're basically competing against ourselves every year, getting louder and more ridiculous. So we made the decision, no more exhibiting at trade shows. Now I speak at trade shows. No more obnoxious ads. Now I create value. I create content. I learned the best way to sell my product is stop talking about my product. No one cares. No one can identify with it. Create value, educate. So now our marketing department is all 100% education based because educated people make educated choices. And we think we're an educated choice. So we stopped doing that crazy, obnoxious, sucky advertising.
That was going to be I knew that was going to be the answer too. I kind of led you on that one because we had that talk last time when I was on your show. We had that same conversation about the warm marketing and how it works and how effective it is. So
you and I had a feeling that was going to be philosophy there. Yeah, absolutely.
We absolutely do. All right. So we're going to talk to the people who may want to be on a podcast or thinking about starting their own podcast, but they don't quite think they have something to say and they don't have the confidence. How does that discussion look? Let's give them a little pep talk.
I would suggest being a guest on podcasts. If you haven't ever produced a podcast or hosted a podcast, then just do some guesting. That is a great investment of your time. It costs you zero to be a guest. You already own everything you need. All you need is a laptop or a digital phone, smartphone,
Yeah.
or that's it. You can spend tens and tens of thousands of dollars, but you don't need to. You can just start with that
No.
and start being a guest on shows and start watching Q&A type shows or podcasts similar to the type that you're thinking of starting.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of podcasts, and I'm a huge fan of value-based marketing, as I said earlier. Create value. Don't go into your podcast with the object of, a call to action, call now, operators are standing by,
Yeah.
promo code this. If you call in the next 10 minutes, we'll double your order. That's all shrill. Provide some value. Now, obviously, you're doing this in all likelihood to run business to your business, right? You're doing this as
Yes.
a marketing tool, but
Yep.
along the way, provide value, because once the audience figures out this is just a infomercial, they're out. You're never going to get any subscribers or viewers or downloads or whatever metric you're using if it just comes across as, if that countdown was the end of the discount price, instead of, like you'd see
Sales
on
pitch.
QVC or something. Yeah,
Yes.
you're not
Yes.
going to
Yes.
get that. You're not going to get the audience you want. Just provide some real value unattached to the outcome and be
Awesome.
patient. Growing a podcast is the slowest growing plant. It's like planting a redwood tree in your backyard. You're 2 generations later, they'll see something substantial, but not
It takes
today.
time.
It's very slow. Be patient. Just make a great show.
Well, I liked in the beginning when you said you dedicated yourself to 10. That's not a bad idea. Get yourself to like 10. Do 10 and see how it feels.
Yeah, I
Something like
figured,
that would
well,
work.
if I fail, I fail. Nice thing about starting a podcast is if it's very unsuccessful, it's probably unsuccessful because no one's watching. So you don't have to worry about having the
No
whole world
embarrassment.
see you fail.
Yeah.
But it is, get used to the fact that on your first show, when you record your first show, you are talking to quite literally nobody. You're staring into a
Yes.
camera and a microphone,
Yep.
and you are
Yeah.
pouring your heart out, trying to make this episode valuable, and you have nobody watching. You start at 0.
Yep.
And then your second episode, you might still be at 0. And then by the third episode, your mom's watching and your spouse is watching, and a
Yeah.
couple of friends who hate you, hoping that you're making a fool of yourself, are watching. But it comes. It just takes time.
Yep.
Just keep doing it. Don't
I
chase
think
numbers.
I read an article that I think Netflix is starting to feature podcasts as episodes on Netflix now. I think there's going to be a big shift, I think, in the how digestible podcasts are going to be, and
Yeah,
how
well, if you think about,
they're going to take off.
like Howard Stern, the
Yes.
radio
Yeah.
shock jock, he's on, I don't know whatever. I don't know if it's just a
Sirius
YouTube
or
channel
something.
or he's got, it's just basically a camera mounted in the corner of the studio, several cameras,
That's it.
and it's just recording the episode. And Conan O'Brien has, Conan Needs a Friend podcast, and there's a video version
Joe
of that.
Rogan.
Joe Rogan, that's the best example. Exactly. Joe Rogan.
They're just sitting there doing nothing.
Just sitting doing his podcast, and there just happens to be eyes on him. Right. It's an and you get an A-lister or a B-lister doing it. I don't think anyone's doing, the Mike Konrad, Billy Salmon's, simulcast. Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, exactly.
The legendary Mike Konrad. Don't
or
sell
I'm
yourself
gonna
short.
tell everyone I knew him when,
That's great. Awesome. Great answer. All right. So as usual, we're gonna have the outro. We talk about where people can find the podcast, and if they want to set up a time, maybe to meet with you, maybe they have technology questions or set you up for speaking events, where they can get a hold of you for that.
Yeah. My personal website is MikeKonrad.com. That's Konrad with a K. So everyone that just wrote a C, put a line through it and make it a K.
Okay.
MikeKonrad.com. And then Reliability Matters. If you're a geek and you're into electronics manufacturing, or if you can't sleep, the show is better than Ambien and it's not addictive. So either way, reliabilitymatterspodcast.com. And on this subject, on entrepreneurship, where you can talk to fascinating guests. I had this guy named Billy Salmons on my show. You won't believe it. I don't want to brag,
That's a
but he
good
was on
plug.
my show. Yeah.
That's a good plug. I like that.
Yeah. But that website is reluctantentrepreneur.podcast.com. So easy to remember. And if someone wants to get a hold of me, I'm always happy to talk about podcasting, and I even put a PowerPoint together for a group of friends, and I've shown it many times because people have approached me, called "So You Want to Start a Podcast?" and it's just about what I learned, the tech, what's behind it, best practices, things like that. And I'm always happy to share that and help fellow podcasters along. That's what we do with each other. It's a tight community. So just reach out to me at mike@mikekonrad.com, Konrad with a K.
Awesome.
And I'd be more than happy to share with your audience.
Awesome. I appreciate all that and all the knowledge.
And if you call in the next 10 minutes, we'll double your order.
120 seconds. 120 seconds you can call. Yeah,
exactly.
No, that's perfect. Yeah. Thank you for all your knowledge, your expertise, information, and for being the first guest swap of the Live Local Marketing.
Yeah.
So we appreciate all of those things.
I'm so glad we're even now. So
we're even
until I have you back on, Billy part 2, and then I'll come back on Mike part 2, and we'll just keep it going. Pretty soon, we're going to be our only guests, the two of us. We'll have to be the Mike and Billy show.
Oh my gosh, that's great. All right, so thank you for your help today, and thank you for being on.
Thanks for inviting me, Billy. It's great to see you again.